Hello, and welcome to another episode of Kevin's on the Couch. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Kevin, and in this episode, we're going to be doing something new and a little bit different. And that is, we're going to talk about a TV show that is based on a book. It's something we've never done, but I think it'll be interesting. And the first book show, that we're going to be talking about is 11/22/63 by Stephen King. If you're not familiar with it, it's sort of alt history, but really not. It's a story of a man who discovers a hole in time and goes back in time to try to prevent the Kennedy assassination. The book itself came out a couple years ago, and the show came out on Hulu last year.
Yes, it did. That's interesting. It's a new concept. I'm excited for it. If you haven't read the book, I think you should. It is not a very good book, in my opinion. It was really long and kind of rambling. Interesting premise for sure, but the book just really read like the diary of some guy who went back in time, and there really wasn't enough action for me in the book. A lot of time was spent just wandering around in Texas. Great. Whoopee-doo. Get to the good part. So yeah, not the best book in my opinion. So I'm curious to see how they handle this in the TV show.
Yeah, I didn't find it that great of a book either. There's this recurring theme that the closer you get to changing an event in the past, the more difficult the past will make it for you. And I like that as a concept and as something that can create some drama in the story. But in this case, there just wasn't enough of it. There weren't enough of those events that the character tried to change. So excited to see how they handle this in the story on TV. And let's jump into it. It's called 11/22/63 and it's on Hulu.
And right away, the first thing that we notice is that they do not do the TV show in first person like they did in the book. Big mistake, in my opinion. Because the first person is what allows you to connect with the James character. And when it's not first person, you don't get that connection in the show. And that combined with James Franco being a terrible actor, it just, the whole thing falls flat in the setup.
Yeah, there's really no setup here. They just rush right into everything. And as a result, most of this first episode just doesn't do anything. It's completely overshadowed by James Franco's inability to act as well at the front of a one-car parade. And it's just not very good.
An excellent example of what you are talking about is when Al calls him a little shit in his kitchen. If they had bothered to show that these two are actually friends, that would have meant something. Instead, he just calls him a shit and they get mad and you're like, what do I care? I ain't hardly seen these people. I don't know who they are. Are they even friends? Or why do I care? Call them a shit. Did somebody say a little shit? Oh, damn it, toilet paper. Not now. We're trying to film Kevin's on the couch. Keep your smart aleck remarks to yourself.
But already one of the things we can see is going to be better in the TV show than the book is they don't go quite so far back in time, which means that the main character doesn't have to spend as much time screwing around in the Northeast or wandering through Florida. That's a huge improvement because it's just going to cut out a lot of dead time in the story and help things move along a little bit faster. And one of the things I think we need to revisit is your contention that it's a mistake that they didn't do the show in first person. I think that that's okay, and the way that they've adopted, at least in the first episode, having Al sort of narrate instructions to James Amberson in the past is good. I think that keeps Al's character alive, establishes that bond a little bit. I still would have liked to have seen it established here, but this is a good way to do it and not have the show get completely lost in the past. It has to maintain that tie to the present. Otherwise, the whole structure of the fact that this guy's even back in sort of falls apart. So I think this is a good thing that they're not doing it in first person and took it a different route.
Disagree respectfully. I think that had they done it in first person, we would have been able to connect to this character a little bit more, and it would have made up for the fact that James Franco can't act his way out of a paper bag. I mean, he's just terrible. But first person would have been nice. It could have established a bit of a bond between the viewer and the character. So we are going to have to agree to disagree on this particular point.
Yeah, it's a good point, Kevin. I think one of the things that really stands out to me in this TV adaptation is the level of detail you can get into in a book is almost impossible to pull off on television. For example, in the book, the James character is a dancer, and there's some scenes early on with some kids back in Maine who he teaches how to dance, and he goes into real detail on how you signal your partner. Then, of course, the to that is later on in the school with Ms. Dunhill, and they have their first dance just like they do in the book, and it's in front of the students and everything, and it's great. But because you can't get into the way dance partners squeeze each other's hands to tell each other which direction to swing them, it doesn't have that emotional punch and that tie that it had in the book, and that really, I think, helped cement these two characters as central in the story and people you care about.
Yes, Kevin, that's an excellent point. I was disappointed by that as well. Even at the very start of the dancing scene in the book, they use a song called In the Mood by Glenn Miller. It's just a nice little fancy song, lifts your spirits up. But in the show, it's just some nondescript old jazzy whatever. And it didn't have any punch, any emotional tie at all. And I think, I kept waiting. Maybe they would show a close-up of their hands squeezing each other to tell each other which way to go as some kind of signal that, hey, these two people have connected on a level, on an emotional level. But no, they didn't do that. And I think, if you're not going to bring something like that from the book into the show, why are you adapting the damn book into a show? It's the kind of things that set stories apart, and they just seem to just throw it right out the window. I don't know what you're doing. Why can't I have Squeeze the Hands play in the middle by Glenn Miller?
Okay, well, here we are on night 2. I think we know what way you're leaning, but are you staying on the couch? Or are you getting up and walking away on 11/22/63?
Yeah, I guess I did kind of give it away, but yeah, I'm getting up and walking away from this mess. Yeah, it's just not, there's nothing compelling here. If you're going to do a show about the Kennedy assassination, but you're not going to actually get to that until the very last episode, then you damn well better give me some really compelling stuff before that, and we're just not seeing it here. And when that's not there, you say, well, at least we getting any interesting performances, and no, we ain't getting that either. So I'm getting up and I'm walking away from 11/22/63, and I mean, for God's sakes, that's a mouthful. If I'm better, I ain't got time to say all that. Find a better name for your show.
Yeah, well, this is definitely the most mild profanity you've had on any episode so far. And you're certainly right. There is no real character development here at all. And that's a huge drawback. However, I think I'm going to stay on the couch for 11/22/63 just because I think we do have the potential here for a multi-season show. There are all kinds of other historic events that they can get into with these characters, or maybe even bring in other characters and have it almost an anthology format, kind of like an American Horror Story. If it gets beyond this season, it will benefit from no longer being pulled down by the original source material of a book that isn't that great. So I'm staying on the couch for 11/22/63 just to be in it for the long haul. I would encourage you to do so as well.
Okay, thank you, FCC. Well, I think this is the first time that we have disagreed here on Kevin's on the Couch, and viewers might be surprised about that. But in truth, it's not rare at all. As we sit here and watch these shows, we are constantly debating things and bickering, and we have minor disagreements all the time. But in the end, we always do get along, we shake hands, and we sit on the couch for another show.
Yeah, hey, absolutely. We're always sticking together. We never leave the couch angry.
Yeah, absolutely not. Never leave the couch angry. Give me a fist bump. Thank you. Thanks for watching this episode of Kevin's on the Couch. We hope to see you next time.